it run? Of course it will. A little booger bit me. How? I don't know. Alright, so a year or two ago I bought this is a kit that you get to redo the saw. Comes with dogs for the starter, the recoil rope. I think that goes to the recoil starter, and bolts that hold everything down. Obviously the spark plugs. These are caps for the bushings. I think I've used a couple of them out of here. Basically all the bolts that you would need to rebuild this saw. This is an 044. So I think it goes good for, I think this kit was good for like the 4.4s and the 6.6 or there we go. No, that's just a phone number, never mind. Anyhow, so what I'm gonna do, I've been robbing parts out of it for a couple different saws, but I'm gonna go through and put all new bolts in here for the recoil starter, because this one's missing, and the one on the right there, you can see it, yeah, the one on the handle, the kickback handle or safety handle, however you want to call it, the chain brake handle. So we're going to replace them. So that little clip that we saw in the box actually, or the washer, it was the washer, it goes here to the clutch. And the reason that I'm pulling the clutch apart is this is a little stiff. So there's a C-clip that comes off in the washer, and then you can change this piece here. This is what drives the teeth on the chain. The chain goes in here, and this one says on it 3/8 7, and what that means, it's a 7 tooth, 1 2 3, like that. And you can actually put different chains on here, different speeds, a 7 or an 8, I don't remember which way it goes. It'll make the chain go faster if you choose to. Looks like at one point in this poor girl's life, the chain, either this thing split and nobody knew it, or they just put the chain right on there. So now this pulls right off, and what I'm looking at is I'm trying to get the bearing, which is right there, and just see why she was tight. And Trish needs some grease. The hole in the end here you can grease. Oh, and it's pretty dirty inside the brake there. We'll clean that up. But you can grease, and let me see if I can turn the other thing over. There should be a hole, and there's not in this one. Normally you can grease this with the same grease gun that the end of the bar uses, and there should be a hole. And let's check the depth of that hole. Hold on. Alright, so as you can see, it doesn't go in. If it went in that far, then that would be show that it's greasable. But this one does not have that. So we're going to have to just grease this and put it back together. So we're cleaning this piece up. You can use any kind of carb clean, brake clean. Hair's mussy, sorry. I just use a little gasoline. Brake clean, gasoline. And the wife yells at me because she says it's very stinky. Well, we'll leave that one alone. Anyhow, so gasoline, it's not cheap. I don't know what it would cost if you broke it down by the ounce, like a spray can of carb clean or brake clean, but it's readily available because I have it. And This is actually 2-stroke mix, 50 to 1. So it's got lubricating oil in it. So, you know, that's great too for your metal parts. Okay. Enough hogwash. So we cleaned that out like that. I cleaned the inside up. I think it just gets a buildup of oil from the chain, bar and chain. Busy road today. People just zooming on through. Alright, so nice and clean. This side's just cosmetic. So now if I put that back on there, no, it won't work. The bearing's got to be there first. So we're going to take the bearing, and now normally when you're packing a bearing, you put a handful of grease. They have new machines that do this for you, but to hand pack, you put it and then you push the bearing into it until it comes out the other side. Normally the bearings are setting like in an angle, like a wheel bearing, but being as though this is a barrel bearing. Alright, so I could actually put some grease in there and then push my finger down and then squish it out, which wouldn't be that bad to show you. Let me just find something that'll fit in here. Diameter wise, you want it to be tight inside this hole. Hold on. Let's see. Probably a punch. Oh, okay. So here's a piece of something that I saved. Who knows what it's for? Okay. So this is what I saved it for. All you wives out there yelling at your husbands, "Don't say what stuff!" This is why we save it. Someday you're going to need it. Okay. Grease. And, well, do I want to use the red kind or the brown kind? High temp or low temp? Because one's got, no. Alright, so we'll give the grease a couple squirties. That was my Ingersoll Rand grease gun. You don't have to pump anymore. You just pull the trigger and it does it for you. Pumpity pump. Okay, now this is a waste of grease. Okay, I'm just showing you guys the formula. No, the general. Now, what? Normally, there's 2 caps for like a wheel bearing. There's 2 plastic caps. They're cone shaped, and then you bolt them together with the bearing inside. Then you grease the end, and it squirts out the side. Every time I start talking. That compressor's a pain in the butt. Possible female. No, I didn't say that. No. Okay, so now you can see the grease is just about through there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my finger on this side, right? You knew that. And then I'm going to push this in, and the grease will go. I pushed too fast. There we go. It come right out the bearing there. Damn camera. There you go. And right there. Came out there. See that? And then we're going to make a mess. La-di-da-di-da. Could have done that to begin with, but. Alright, so you don't need an excessive amount of grease on this because it's going to go in next to the clutches, which drive the chain. So what I'll do now is I'll take this other piece, a super long one, and we're just going to call that the bearing cleaner. Wives, pay attention. Husbands need this stuff. Okay. So push that in there, pull it out. Look at all that grease that came out on there. Wipey, stuffy, pulley outy. And I think I'm just going to... They make rags for a reason. Alright. So I'm just going to gently wipe the outside perimeter. There you go. Alright, so there's a little bit of grease on there. I don't know how the hell this thing... Oops. I don't know how the heck this thing gets lubricated. unless you're supposed to tear this thing apart every few hours, because it's not greasable. But to be honest with you, I've probably only greased this. This is probably the second time in 10 years, 20 years. It works. It works. That's all that matters. Okay. So, let's clean our little thing that we don't know what it goes to and put it back in the drawer, because we're going to need it someday. Just like we did today. Okay. Oh, you want to see the Ingersoll Rand grease gun? If I pick the right drawer. Look at that. Yeah, it's big. Shut up. Anyway, it's got a cap on the end. It just keeps the crap out of it. And it's got this great long hose. Shut up. Overcompensation. Anyway, and then you put the battery on there that the Ingersoll Rand impact gun uses. And you push the buttons and tell you how many lives of battery you can do to. So I greased the tractor the other day, and this thing was great. You just pull the trigger and just kind of, you don't have to keep pumping and pumping and pumping. You just pull the trigger and it goes. Sweet. Husbands, you need one of these. Wives, get him one. Trying for you guys. All right. Put her back to bed. She don't need to be sleeping out in the open. It's bad for her hair. Okay, so you keep distracting me. This drive is not a cookie. It's a little worn. She's gonna work again for this year. Yes, she is. Okay. So now we can put the... Would you listen to that? Is it properly tuned? Yeah, I think so. In order to untune this, you have to group... No, don't do that. Alright, enough of that foolishness. So that goes back on there. Oh, I was going to say that's a little scratchy, but it wasn't all the way in. So now that, look at that. Look how sweet. Sweet. You have to slur your word when you say sweet, otherwise the still, you just kind of do this long enough and then it'll fall on eventually. Or you could just line up the teeth and slide it on, right? It was too difficult, wasn't it? Alright, washer. There's a little tiny bit of grease on the end there, which, oh yeah, we meant to do that. We'll put that on that pin right there, and then we'll put that on there and push it on. So, how do we do that? With a screwdriver, because there's the right tool for every job. Right? Of course. There. I like it. Okay. So, that's the saw part. I cleaned up, blew everything off with the airline. Of course, it blew all over my clothes. The wife's going to be impressed with that. This was a really nice, clean shirt when I started. Yeah, it's icky now. Okay, so the other thing that you've probably seen me do is every time I got some bolts or something, I like drop it in this can. Well, I'm not dropping it in a can. I'm dropping it in my fancy schmancy funnel here. And what that does is clean them. Everybody likes clean nuts for their chainsaw equipment stuff. Alright, so look how sparkly and clean. Okay, so now what? Now, well, in theory we're going to put the chain back together, but we're not. The chain onto the saw, but we're not going to do that because the chain needs sharpened. Because it's icky. I mean, it's not terrible, but if you, again, let's get some gasoline, and we'll wipe the end of this. Ever so gently, you wipe your child's chin until it comes clean and, you know, just like a mother, you must spit on the kid's face. And, oh, never mind that. Okay. So that little piece of dirt we're not going to get off, but right there on the end, you can see, this is the cut inside. You can see the scratchies. There you go. So that's just from, it could have been stones that were in the log. I don't think I was in the ground with this. I'm normally pretty careful with this saw as far as sticking the chain in the dirt. And normally if you hit a rock in the dirt, you'll take a tip of the tooth off, the chisel part. And these all seem to be equally dull. So I'm going to say I was either cutting frozen wood or hit, like I said, dirt. Dirt. It's a terrible thing when it's in your wood, because it dulls the chain of your saw. Okay, so. Ew. It's a big yucky. All of you who want to sharpen the chain, raise your hand. Is your hand up in the back? Stop scratching your head. All right. So we'll do another video on that then, because nobody can. Are you there? Alright, I'm back. So I have this bar. Still? Yeah, still. Wait, still. Oh no! I hate it when they get all limp like that and fall down. Phone stands are terrible. Anyway. I took this in, had a burr on it, took it in on my 1-inch belt sander inside. 1 inch is enough. For a belt sander, you didn't vote on watching it getting sharpened in the back, so you keep your comments to yourself. Peanut gallery. Alright, so get her on there, we get her on there. She'll be coming around the mountain. All that jazz. Okay. Resetting. Okay, it's uncooperative until we get the bar on. And for some reason, she's a little bit ornery sitting down in the bar there too. Why are we ornery? Is it possible? It is possible. No. I was going to say, I think maybe we have the wrong bar and chain combo, because the drives can be a different thickness. This can be 50 thousandths thick or 73 3/1000 thick, but more likely that bar somehow may have gotten pinched in this section here, because if I put it on the top like that, I'm gonna have to turn this camera, hold on. Alright, every tooth but this one is good, and it's got, see that burr? That burr comes up, so it won't go into the bar. So let's get a flat chain and flat file, hold on. Alright, so it is sort of back on. I just have it set in here so you can see. So this threw the chain off a while ago during the winter or something. The last time I used a saw anyway. Heck, it could have been back in the fall. And so when it threw the chain off, one of the teeth, one of the drive teeth, had a little burr on the side. So actually there was more than one tooth. So I had to go through and I would find the tooth, take the flat file, you know, straighten it out, yay, okay, and keep going. Then there'd be another one, and there was a couple, so anyway. So that's where we are. So I like to snug these up so that they're holding the bar, but they're not tight, because you still, on a lot of chainsaws, the tensioner is on this side of the bar, and there's a screw like halfway up the chain, and it goes to a little slot with a dot, the pin in the hole, and the doohickey, and you spin it and the chain tightens. Okay, on this saw it's this hole here, there's a screwdriver slot in there. And the other thing is, when you're tightening your chain, always lift up on the bar, because if you can see this, right, I mean it's still loose, but I'll show you better. So let's tighten this up. Okay, right? Chain's tight, right? You would think. Well, then if you lift up on the bar, nothing. It's now not tight anymore. So you always lift up on the bar, or you can push down on the saw and push the bar against the log that you're working with, and then tighten your chain accordingly. Not loose here on the bench, but, and I like to be able to pull, and everybody is strong. Some people are stronger than other people. So when you pull up on the chain with a roller tip, which you can't see, but if there's a thing on the end that rolls, you can make it a little tighter. And so I like to pull up with 2 fingers, and if I can just see the bottom of the tooth, that's where I'm happy, and obviously still be able to spin the chain once it's tight. So give it a little bit more schmut. There we go. Okay, and then we do the snuggy here, snuggy there. Okay, so now what I like to do is put something under the bar, whether it be the log, hammer handle, or whatever, so that when I'm pushing down on this, the teeth aren't touching anything here. All the pressure will be here that I'm exerting with the wrench, right, to tighten that last bit. And I always double check, because you don't want this chain to come off at 12,000 RPM. I mean, there's little safeties here and there to catch the chain, and I've thrown off 100 chains, and knock on wood, I've never been hit by it. So I'm sure there are other examples that people have been, but so at any rate, that saw now is ready to go. This is a previously sharpened chain that I had in bar. It wasn't that other one that I said that I'd do a video with. So that's the end of that, and the last thing to do would be to start it. So let's go do that. What do you think, Lil? Good girl. What do you think? Is that great? Come on, give me kisses. Come here. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'll sit down. And Lily says it's great. Right, Lil? Great. What do you think, Lil? Good girl. What do you think? Is that great? Come on, give me kisses. Come here. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'll sit down. And Lily says it's great. Right, Lil?